I'm going to show you how to make this cute little snowman in watercolor. We're going to start with just tracing a circle. You can use regular graphite pen or watercolor pen. I'm using a light blue watercolor pen here. We're going to do two circles, a larger one and then a smaller one inside. The proportions, whatever you like, it doesn't really matter. This inner one's going to be the head because we're doing the snowman looking up. Now the important part of this is when you're painting white is that you're leaving the paper, but you're gonna, put color around it. So this is snow, and we're doing a wet on wet here. That makes it blend pretty easy. So just get the paper nice and wet all around, tracing around the snowman, and most of that watercolor pencil will start to dissolve. And what doesn't dissolve will just kind of blend into the shadow. So once you've got your paper nice and wet, you can start to drop in some color. I'm using kind of like a smoky blue here. And while it looks really dark going on, it's going to get much lighter when it dries. So just kind of blend this in and use, clean your brush, use some more clean water here to kind of blend it out. Again, this is going to be the snow around the snowman. Always go in around the edges with a bit of a darker color because the shadows are a bit more intense around the edges. Try to think about where your light source is because you want to put the most intense shadows on the dark side. So here going in, you can give your snowman any kind of hat that you want. A top hat, I'm going with a green beanie. And your beanie doesn't have to be perfect. Kind of leave some light on one side and make it a little darker on the shadow side. So you see me lifting some color here. I also left some space, but then I ended up just lifting. Now I'm going in here with a darker color on the shadow side. It's a dark blue. And you definitely want to do this while your hat is still mostly wet so that that blends. And then I give it the little poofy thing at the top. More shading. The eyes now I could have used if I had a Q-tip, but I didn't. I was too lazy to go get the Q-tips from upstairs. So I started with this big brush, which was a little too big for my eyes. And you'll see I'm fiddling a little too much with them. Trying to kind of get them even. Leave a little bit of sort of like a white space reflection in the eye. If you don't leave the white space, you can always go over it with a white gel pen, which I do at the end anyway. So you see I keep fiddling because now I'm making it bigger and bigger, trying to get them more rounded. And I really just need a smaller brush. I put in his little smile. Now, I'm not sure if the video you can pick out the light blue of the inner circle, but for the eye you can easily see it. And we're going to later go in with some shadow there to define it. Now we're going to give him a nose, and because he's looking upward, the nose is going to be short and wide. That's going to be how it would look from that perspective. And then go in with some darker color on the shadow side. This is our little carrot, so putting in that shadow and then doing a few lines. Give it some carroty texture. That's mostly dried, so I'm just going in with a few darker bits here and there to add some depth to the little puff. Now for the arms. He's got his arms open wide. I'm using a darker brown on the shadow side here. And then going in, adding a little darker bits here and there. Kind of make it look all uneven and wonky. And a slightly lighter brown on the other side. Don't make your branches too nice and even. Make them a little crooked and wonky. And then going back in with some darker color here and there. Now the reason why I'm doing it in this order is I'm trying to let that hat dry because we need to go in a little bit and tinker with that hat. But it has to be completely dry. So here I'm going to give it that little rolled up rim, which is going to be a darker color than the rest of the hat by just a little bit. I just mixed in a little bit of dark blue to the same green that I had. Now going in and giving some shadows. Again, this is a dark blue like an indigo that I'm using. Giving a little bit at the top here just to define that rim. And there I am with the gel pen. Fixing my eyes. Not really liking that right eye too much, so I'm going to go in and fix it a bit. Now we're gonna do some shading here, but in hindsight I didn't really need to do this because I forgot that I'm gonna give this man a scarf. But when you are going in to give shading to define something, you need to make sure anything around it, like that green hat, is 100% dry. So we're going to go in with our scarf here. I'm using the same green, starting very narrow toward the cap, and then it gets bigger beneath the neck. And scarves are never perfect, so you don't have to make a perfect circle. Give a little bit of shadow right underneath the chin base area on the scarf. I noticed a bloom developing there, so I kind of used a dry brush or very lightly damp brush to fix it. Now take a square brush, it's easier, and you're gonna make that part of the scarf that hangs down, give it a little fringe, and then let this dry completely, which I did let it dry, and then go back over with a darker color there. Now we're going to give some little lines and details. I think this wasn't 100% dry, it was slightly damp. And for the end, we use white gouache. You can also use Dr. Martin's. It has a white ink, and do some splatter with your gouache or your white ink. And then I'm using little teeny bits of snow on the branches. And just filling in some snow where I think there should be snow, like snow flakes sticking to the scarf, things like that. Just fiddling around with the snowy parts. Have fun with it, do whatever you think looks good.